General Assembly, we'll kind of see what ends up happening with where we go from here. Like, do we have a General Assembly on Wednesday? Is Wednesday like the Cal State spot? I think that would probably be the smartest thing, just because I know Occupy Long Beach, I've been down there 5 times, and it's tough to get people down there. Some people don't even know where it is. 2, they don't know how they can contribute. So I think, if you look historically, like going back to the 60s when they used to do this kind of thing, the university was where it was at. It's where you had artists and teachers and community members, and you brought them into the same conversation and let people, again, become citizens in that process. And the open spaces, those were where they actually learned more than sometimes they did in the classroom. So I really think that it's important to have the universities and the school systems be involved with the movement. I think it would be a mistake for people to kind of be cautious of it, like, whoa, they want to give us education, what are you afraid of, and even with teachers, like, some teachers are afraid to use their tenure, they're afraid to speak up because they feel that they're going to be retaliated against, which isn't the case. Tenure, you're almost invincible. You can say what you want, and tenure was created so that you have academic freedom. So we would like to see more of the conversation come from teachers, because I think they're relying too much on the students to take it upon themselves, and you have to work 3 jobs to go to college, and it's tough. So without leadership from organic intellectuals, how do we expect them? How do we expect students to wake up? That's the big thing. Like, when are you going to wake up? When are you going to wake up? It's like, when are you going to help? So I think we're starting to see that, which is great about this movement, is that people who were waiting and waiting and waiting, this is their chance. So you have no right to complain after when you see something like this. That's very representative.
Do you have any comment on what's happening currently on Wall Street?
Yeah, I have friends that work there. It's funny because half of my friends went to those institutions, and the other half became teachers and all that. So I think Wall Street.
Those classes, I know.
Again, we're not against wealth. We're not blaming Wall Street for things that they didn't do. We're not saying that this just came out of nowhere. They created this crisis. They were the ones who basically took credit default swaps and all this really shady behind the door scenes, and bankrupted the country. For instance, pensions, right? So they basically took people's pensions, bundled it with these really bad deals, and then sold that to other investors. That's my football coach. That's my teacher. It's not just some abstract idea. People in my family, they've been saving their whole lives. They pay taxes. So I think Wall Street needs to stop being so greedy, and actually, look at education as an opportunity for their businesses to grow. We want growth just as much as they want growth. I think it's again another misconception to say we're capitalism is so evil, and to get into the dogma and the more theoretical stuff. It's more about, listen, let's drop the dogma. Don't worry about ideology. Just worry about how do we fix this, and how do we get people to fix it. So Wall Street really needs to stop, to take their foot off the neck of our institutions, and look at how many lobbyists they have. Look at how much they donate to campaigns. Basically, money is power, and they have a lot of it, and students and young people don't.
Any other questions?
What do you think would be the best piece of advice to give, us students who next year, some of us will be able to vote? What would you say to us?
Right. So, first, again, educate yourself, educate your family, educate your friends. It's really important to know what's on the ballot. For instance, 2/3 majority is really tough to get in the state legislature. 66%. Your state assemblyman, your state senate. That's hard. So 2 people, which I believe it's 2 in the Senate, 2 in the Assembly, are blocking education to be funded, to tax extensions to go through. So it really is up to you to educate yourself first. Secondly, mobilize and organize. How can you organize in your community? I don't know, maybe you're good at drawing posters, so you could help with the political art. Maybe you're good at stand-up. maybe you're good at guerrilla theater, so you could do more performance-based stuff. Maybe you're a teacher, you can bring your class to the quad and tell them, that's what I did today. I just brought my poli-sci 100 class and said, all right, I'm going to kick some knowledge at you. It's optional, but we tied it to extra credit. So. But yeah, and know who represents you, and I think it'd be a mistake to not educate yourself of who is it that, is responsible for your voice, right? So for instance, who your state assemblyman is, so that's the first step, is know where to go, right? So who are your senators?
I moved here from New Jersey. I could give you my New Jersey senators.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm from Boston. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Menendez and Lautenberg.
So we got Barbara Boxer, Dianne Feinstein, those are your two senators. We got Laura Richardson for Long Beach, for the state assembly, or no, for Congress. And then more locally, Dana Rohrabacher is Huntington Beach. So, talk to Dana and be like, what's your policy on education? Why are you putting all money towards military and not towards education? Now, my dad's a vet. I have friends who are in the Marines, friends who were overseas, and I'm not anti-military, but I'm pro-veteran. So, mobilize your vets, because I think it would be a mistake to kind of distance yourself from veterans as they return. You really need to help them. So yeah, and it's up to your generation to A, educate yourself, B, organize and mobilize. Go outside the system, but also use the system, right? So you basically want to generate pressure that's parallel to the system, and then that basically that'll force the institutions to actually listen. So if you look at the 30s and the 60s, when you had really big social movements and civil rights movements, they were able to force the politicians to listen. If we don't give them what they want, it's chaos. So it's should we end up like Greece, where people are blowing up cars and throwing Molotov cocktails at cops? No, violence is not the answer. So it's really about stability, and it's about reforming our democracy. And if you look at California 100 years ago, it was the birthplace of the reform movement. It's where they had the recall, the initiative. They actually went back into more grassroots citizenship, and that's where they got changed. So without the progressive era and stuff, we wouldn't have all that.
Awesome. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right.